Hyunjin strikes a man and he starts to beat him. Meanwhile, Hyunjin arrives there and asks him to stop. The man leaves without saying anything while Hyunjin is in a state of shock that he helped him. They come back and start playing a game. Meanwhile, the man brings his friends to fight them. He asks them to follow them outside. Hyunjin is scared that things got out of hand because of him. They are going to attack them while Hyunjin asks Hyunjin to not get scared as he was not at fault. They start fighting while Hyunjin is easily taking them down. Hyunjin wonders what should he do as he has never been in a fight before. Ijin is also fighting and he asks Hyunjin to stay in the back. Hyunjin wonders how odds Ijin take them out in one hit while they keep getting back up like zombies. One of them is going to hit him but Hyunjin comes in between and holds him. Ijin comes and takes that man down. He makes fun of Ijin because he took help from Hyunjin. Ijin reaches the cafe and calls everyone but they are not responding. They showed up after some time and say Ijin that he missed a good show. When they go outside, they see a lot of men lying injured there. Ijin reveals he was looking for them when they suddenly attacked him after seeing his uniform. After that, they sit for eating and Ijin asks them how they start fighting. When they tell him everything, he asks Hyunjin if he is hurt anywhere, and he replies Ijin helped him. He reveals he hated both of them earlier because they bullied everyone in the class. Ijin says they didn't bully them but joked around them. Hyunjin says no matter what they think about it but it was still called bullying, and he hated that they did all of it without a second thought. Hyunjin says this is the first time they have been told something like that as he thought they were doing harmless pranks. They just kept telling each other that they are better than the others. They both apologize to Hyunjin. On the other hand, Yuna comes to her cousin's room and asks her why she investigated Ijin. She replies she investigated him because he seems a suspicious person. She reveals that she called some higher-ups to look into Ijin's case and they will call her in anytime. After some time, the phone rang and GA puts it on speaker. The informer reveals that they have received an order from higher-ups that the SW group refrain from looking into Ijin any further. Moreover, he is someone that the SW group doesn't have to worry about. After getting separation from his family in a plane crash, he is just someone who wants to be home with his family. The next day, Yuna and Sukju come to school after skipping a few days. Also, she has come at the end of the school day. She goes to Hyunjin and asks him about Ijin, while Yihyun replies that he was just left because the teacher called him. Sukju informs her that Grandpa has come to school. He has come there to thank Ijin personally as he refused to meet him. But Ijin says he was just saving his sister and Yuna just happened to be there too. He offers him if he can be Yuna's bodyguard and Ijin replies that is not a job for a high schooler like him. Sukju asked to be released from bodyguard duty a few days ago. He said he had no right to be a bodyguard after what happened. That is why he has come to ask him. Ijin refused by saying this is not something he can do. Grandpa reveals that Yuna is not the only reason he is here. He also came here to thank him for what happened 3 years ago. He was able to watch over his son's last moments because of him. He reveals that his son always talked about him and couldn't stop thinking about why he became a mercenary, so he asked him to look into it. He looked for him, but he couldn't find him. Ijin says he will not be able to do any proper bodyguarding, but if something happens he will not ignore it. He comes back to the classroom and thinks about Yuna's father. He learns today that he had died. 3 years ago, he got interaction with him and treated him like a kid and offered him good food. He came there for volunteers work and to help people. He always took care of him and give him food and an umbrella when he was on duty. When Ijin was moving for the next assignment, he came to him and asked to visit him when he had time. He also gave him some food and medical supplies. He said he gives him such things because he had a daughter about his age. After that, he informed that the whole town got taken over by anti-government forces and most of the volunteers were killed. Yuna calls him and asks if he has some time as she wants to talk to him. Sukju apologizes to him for doubting him while Ijin says he just did what he has to. Yuna says his grandpa invites him for dinner. He accepts the bodyguard's offer and Grandpa asks him to live with the bodyguards for a few days and make a friendly conversation with them. Sukju informs him that Team 3 is in charge of protecting Yuna and Team 2 is in charge of protecting the director of GA and his parents. The guards get informed that he will live with them for a few days and want to experience the job for some days. Yuna and Sukju are shocked that he is interested in this job. Meanwhile, GA reaches there while Ijin is doing training. All the guards get tired but Ijin is staying still and looks like he has stamina to spare. Yuna is shocked that he is too good that Team 2 can't catch up him. GA is also impressed and says there is a big difference between Ijin and Team 2. One of the guards says he wants to test his skills, while the head says he wants to spar with a high schooler. Ijin says he doesn't mind to spar. They are ready to fight and everyone thinks he can't win against the guard. The guard says he should be worried because he is different from the guys he took down before. They start fighting and Ijin punches his face and defeats him. Meanwhile, everyone is in a state of shock. The head now gets how he did more than Sukju in the rescue operation. Another guard says he wants to fight him too after seeing his moves and Ijin says he doesn't have any problem with that. This time they think he can't stand because the guard will not underestimate him. The guard is their team's ace. They start fighting and Ijin blocked his all attacks. The guard says he is stronger than he looks and again attacks him but Ijin breaks his defense too. He attacks his knee and punches his face. He defeats him too and asks if anyone else wants his turn but the guards say nothing. GA claims it was not a coincidence that he and Sukju save Yuna. He is definitely exceptional in everything from training to sparring. She says now they will move to the next course and now he has finished training, so he needs to experience the real thing. He is following Team 2 Second's schedule, so he will go with GA. Meanwhile, the grandpa is watching them from a camera and he is now informed that Yuna and Ijin are in the same class. They have investigated him and it reveals that his code name is Jin and he is exceptional in everything. On the other hand, Ijin is ready for duty. At night, Grandpa asks Daeon about Ijin and she said he told her that he will be late. Grandpa is worried about him and says he must be alright. On the other hand, the guard's head is scolding them for the embarrassment they had. Ijin comes outside after getting ready as he will perform the duty of Jia's bodyguard. She sits in a car and her secretary asks him to get in the back, but he sits with Jia in her car. He thinks he is traveling with 2 people and there are 3 cars following them. Jia reveals that she is in charge of an entertainment company, and she is going there now and offers him for modeling. But Ijin says he is not interested. After that, he stands still outside her office and the guard thinks he has not moved an inch in the last hour. He asks him where did he get training and he replies he learned it from the neighborhood where he grew up. While coming back, they get very late. Suddenly, a fast-moving van came toward them and strike with their car. The guard turns back and asks Jia if she is alright, but Ijin protected her for that short time. The van driver was drunk and he also lost consciousness. The secretary asks the guards to call an ambulance and keep track of that driver. Jia asks him if he is alright and asks him to get checked up just in case. Ijin asks her to wear her seatbelt from now on, even if she is in the back seat. The next morning, Daeon is preparing lunch for Grandpa and says she will go to his workplace to give him the lunch. Ijin says he will also go with her. Grandpa works at a bin station. He requests someone to move his car to the side a bit, but the man gets angry and throws the garbage in front of him. Grandpa picks up all stuff. In the meantime, Ijin and Daeon arrive there and she says that she has brought his lunch. Moreover, she has come there to help him with recycling and says they will finish it immediately so that they can eat together. On the other hand, the chief gets discharged from the hospital and he asks his man to let's treat themselves. He sees Ijin there and wonders what is he doing there and recognizes Grandpa as he is the patrolman. He also guesses that the girl is his sister and is surprised to see his smiling face. He looks like a normal high schooler right now. He leaves them by saying nothing as he thought he will ruin their mood if they go there. After recycling, they take their lunch and say bye to Grandpa. At night, on his way back home, Grandpa thinks he should buy some snacks for the children when the same man parks his car at the wrong place. Grandpa asks him to park the car in the parking lot, but he says he will park the car wherever he wants. He says he will park the car in the parking lot if Grandpa takes the responsibility of paying if his car gets scratched. Meanwhile, the chief's subordinate comes up there and grabs him by his neck. He then asks him to get out of there and they ran from there. Grandpa thanks him for helping him. He asks him if he recognizes him as he came to his home to see Ijin and he remembers him. After that, he tells the chief how he helped Grandpa. Meanwhile, Ijin comes up there and shows him the selfie that he took with Grandpa. Ijin says they are trying to threaten him while they are trying to tell him that this is just a misunderstanding as it is just a normal picture. Jia asks his secretary about Ijin's checkup and he states he has mild injuries and no serious problems. Ijin asks Sukju about when he is going to leave the job as he heard he doesn't want to do this anymore. Sukju says he was never an official bodyguard and he just grew up with Yuna, so he happened to take the bodyguarding job. But due to his mistake, Yuna got kidnapped in front of him, so he thinks he is not capable of this job. He again asks Ijin where did he get training and he again replies that he learned it in the neighborhood he used to live in. Sukju thinks he could have just told him that he doesn't want to answer. He is going to do duty with Yuna today and she says he doesn't have to change clothes either. She takes them to a restaurant for eating ramen and gimbap. Ijin says he doesn't want to eat something while he is bodyguarding. She tells him things against Jia that she insults her staff with a smiling face while Sukju thinks he has never seen her like that before. Ijin thinks about her father when he went to rescue him, but he asked him to leave him and go. He knew that he will die soon, even though he saved him. He wished he could see his daughter's face one more time before he died. Ijin asks him to survive and go see his daughter. Ijin asks Yuna if they both can talk for a while. Sukju gets up and says he will step away for a bit. He tells her about Shin Guk and Yuna wonders how he knows his father. He asks what kind of person was he, and she reveals he was always a busy person and always overseas, so they were not that close. Suddenly, they heard that he was ill and they went to meet him, but he passed away before they go. She states that she is telling him this because he saved her life. Ijin tells her father said he worked until the end in order to meet her. He states he will now deliver to her the contents of the request given to him. First, he wanted to see her face before he died and he was sorry that he couldn't. He requested him to personally meet Yuna and tell her even if he survived and met her. Yuna asks him how he met her father before he passed away, but Ijin gets up and says this is all he can tell her. Ijin now realized the meaning of his request, that it was not just for himself but it was also because he wanted him to leave the hellish battlefield. The next morning, when he gets up he sees the lieutenant at his door. He reveals that he came with Ijin to Korea, but he didn't come because he didn't want to get in the way of a family reunion. Grandpa thanks him as he is the reason Ijin came back home. Grandpa asks him how did they meet and he reveals that when he got assigned overseas, Ijin was the one who guided him. They have prepared a lavish lunch for him and he is eating with speed. Grandpa asks him to slow down, but he says it's been a long time since he had home cooking food. Grandpa thinks maybe his mother died, but he reveals she is alive but very bad at cooking. He is glad to see that Ijin is doing well. He then gets up and says he is going to meet his fiancée. While leaving, he asked Ijin if he find out the thing he was curious about. His fiancée is Jie and they have been engaged for 1 year. She asks him for a favor and asks him to look Ijin for her. He apologizes and says he can't do this favor for her. After a few days, Ijin gets informed that the lieutenant and his squadron have been stranded somewhere. They went for a mission and suddenly enemies changed their position. He got this information from Yuna's grandpa, and he reveals that their military is currently preparing to rescue them. But he asks him to not leave on his own and leave this to the military. He remembers when he first met him and his memories got a little back. He tells them that he is Korean. He advised him to not push himself so hard to remember and to take it slow. One day, he informed him that they have found his family and he have a grandfather and a little sister. Daeun calls him for lunch and he goes outside the room. Grandpa tells them that everyone is getting jealous of him because he has grandchildren who come to eat lunch with him. Daeun says she will come and bring his lunch again. Ijin calls Grandpa and asks his thoughts on helping someone who helped him earlier. Grandpa says it depends on what kind of help he received and what he can do for them. But one thing is certain, the kindness of the person who helped first is greater. Ijin tells both of them he is very glad he got to meet them. After that, he decides to go and inform Yuna's grandpa. On the other hand, the lieutenant and his team are trapped somewhere and soldiers get injured too. Their supplies are almost out. Meanwhile, the enemies are waiting for their supplies to be out so that they can attack them. Their leader has pain in his eyes and this was given to him by Ijin. Ijin is on his way to rescue them and it is revealed that the name of the area is Rakyeon and it's one of the areas he used to work in. The next day, Yuna wonders why Ijin is not present in the class. She texted him but he didn't reply. On the other hand, he reached the targeted area. He got information that the lieutenant hasn't been able to leave the second checkpoint. On the other hand, the lieutenant is still fighting with enemies and they have rescued another area. A soldier reveals that they don't have much ammunition left and will not withstand another skirmish like that. The enemies are chasing them like they already know their entire travel route, and they have civilians with them too. In their current situation, their best chance is to protect the third checkpoint and hold out until a rescue team gets there, while the enemies are ready to attack them. Their leader orders them to find and clean them. The lieutenant and the team reach the third checkpoint and the enemies know the area very well, but they were waiting for the moment. When they reach there, the enemies there were already died. Kang is unable to understand what has happened there, while the enemy's leader lost contact with their soldiers, and another team is following about 2 km behind the target. He tries to contact the team but they are currently engaging with the enemy. They were attacked while they were chasing the target. He realized that they were the ones being hunted this whole time. Ijin is fighting with the team and he will hold them back for about 30 minutes so that the lieutenant's group can escape. He continuously changes his position so that the enemy can't be able to figure out his position. He will use this to his advantage and attack one more time from a different angle. The lieutenant's team hears sounds of firing and they are shocked as that was the spot they just passed through. He is unable to understand what is going on. They decide to wait until the rescue team arrives. On the other hand, the enemies figure out that there are not many people and he is attacking them from multiple angles, but their forces have decreased since before. There are a lot of people missing and they sent some soldiers to his side as they knew that there are fewer people on the other side. There are 3 people and they don't know his position yet. He attacks them and kills all of them. He has to stop them for 14 more minutes. The lieutenant gets informed that the rescue team is arriving soon. He advises his team to not lose their focus until the end. Suddenly, Ijin contacts them and says he will join them in 3 minutes. Kang now realizes that the one who took out the enemies and got into the skirmishes behind them was Ijin. He is shocked to see him. He is really Ijin. In the meantime, the rescue team also arrives there. Kang shouts at him and asks why did her come there. Ijin replies he knows this area better than him and says if he didn't come there after hearing he is in danger then he will regret his whole life. The enemy's leader gets the information that both teams have been wiped out and they just figure out that their enemies were small in numbers. He realized this method was used by 001 and asked his man to investigate if he is still alive. After coming back, he is training with the guards and is doing better than everyone. After that, in the locker room, Sukju notices his injured arm and when he asked him, he replies with nothing. He thinks the injury must be pretty bad as it is bleeding through his shirt. He was training with an arm like that and still got the best scores. Sukju says he doesn't have any plan of losing to him in training or sparring. When they go outside, Yuna was waiting for them and appreciated them for their work. She asks Ijin why he didn't come to school and he just replied that something happened to him. He then received a call from the lieutenant who informs him that the surgery went well. He thanked him for what he has done for them. Moreover, he says he doesn't want him to enter the battlefield ever again as he has a family now and it is different from before. After the call, Yuna asks him where is he going and he replies his friends are waiting for him at PC Cafe. Yuna says he will also go with him. They all reached PC Cafe but the cafe was in very bad condition. The cafe's owner tells them that some students came up there and started beating their friends. Ijin calls them but they are not replying. On the other hand, Yunchin is hiding somewhere and unable to understand what should he do as Ijin and Hyunjin are still fighting with them. There were too many of them for those two to face by themselves. They beat up many, but there is still a lot left. They all attack them once, but Ijin blocks their attacks. After some time, he can't put any strength into his punches because he is too tired and they start to beat him. Meanwhile, one student attacks Ijin from behind and starts to beat him. They both get really injured. Their boss asks them to take them to their base. On the other hand, Yunchin reaches to Ijin and tells him everything, and he asks him where was the last place he saw them. He tells him it was an alleyway near the subway. Yunchin stops him as he thinks he will not be able to handle 20 people and says he will also accompany him. Yuna's bodyguard asks Sukju if he is not going as they are his class fellows too. Sukju thinks for a while and then says he will also join them. They reach the place where they both had a fight. They found their phones, which means they got dragged away. Meanwhile, some other students appear there. They were searching for Yunchin and Sukju asks them about the other guys. One of them comes and attacks Ijin, but he takes him down easily. They took down 4 boys in an instant and then ask them where did they take the 2 boys who were fighting there, but they are not ready to tell them. Ijin smashes his head into the ground and Sukju asks him to let him do the talking from now on. They bring both of them to Tisu, who wants to take revenge on them. He asks them about the 3rd student and they say they will get him soon. They start to beat them and their leader says they will work for him from now on. Even if they run, they will drag them out of their schools. Tisu starts to beat them and their men think they should stop him as he is getting out of hand. Meanwhile, Sukju and Ijin reach there and Ijin starts to beat them. Some guys attack Sukju from behind, but he blocks his attack and takes them down. Soon, they both beat all of them and Tisu is in a state of shock. Over 30 boys got taken down by 2 people and he asks them where did they come from. Ijin is coming closer to him and he thinks he must be tried off so he can attack him. He attacks him, but Ijin blocks his attack and counterattacks him. He thinks if he fails to him, his life in the organization will be finished. He takes out his dagger and attacks him, but Ijin again blocks his attack and falls him to the ground. Yunchin asks Ihun and Hyunjin if they are okay. Hyunjin calls Ijin and says he is the challenger in the real world. After some time, the chief's subordinate comes to him and tells him about the group that recently had a fight with Ijin. Moreover, they are sending their man to track them down. The chief asks him to call some men over and he says he already took care of that. He comes outside and his men welcome him and he asks them to take care of a job before going out to drink. Some men surround Sukju and Yuna and ask them to come with them. Meanwhile, a car comes there and the chief's men surround them. They beat all of them. He comes there and opponents shout at him about why is he helping them. He asks them to leave the children's fight to the children, but he asks him not to tell him what to do. In the meantime, Ijin is having dinner at home when he receives a call from the chief. He invites him to a BBQ treat and keeps the phone. The next day, Hyunjin and Yifan again ask them to play games and Yunchin asks him if he is okay with his arm. They also invite Sukju to come with them. Hyunjin says he is indebted to them, so he will pay for the food. Yuna says she will also accompany them. They reach the cafe and start playing games. Meanwhile, Yuna is sitting behind and just watching them. After games, they all get snacks to eat. While coming home, he receives a call from Daeun and she asks him if he will take the dinner. They meet him outside the home and tell him that they are going to buy some groceries. Ijin says he will also go with them, and after groceries, when they were coming back home, he notices someone is watching him. He recognizes him and Grandpa asks him who is he, and he replies he was just a friend. He comes to them and Grandpa invites him to dinner. He says Ijin that he looks healthy for a dead person, while Ijin calls him 006 and asks how did he find him. He replies the camp found out that he is alive, and they are searching for him. He was nearby when he heard that the camp was looking for him, so he came to find him first. They will find him soon and they will order to eliminate him. But today he has come today to meet an old comrade. Ijin asks him if the camp hasn't found him yet, so how did he find him? He replies he already knew that he is alive and asks him about his memories. Ijin says he has found his memories. At the time of the battle when Ijin was running from the camp, 006 found out that he was alive, but he didn't tell this anyone and declared him dead. He did that because he considered them his friend. He asks him about the mercenary that become well known in the last few years, codenamed Jin. Is he? He then advised him to stay out of the campsite. He receives a call, but after putting on the phone he attacks Ijin. He says he just came to see him, but it looks like the camp figures it out and gives the order faster than expected. He then says this is not a good place to start a ruckus without any preparation, and will come back after preparation. While leaving he says, the way he is now is better than how he was before. Sukju is doing the workout in his room when he receives a call from Ijin and he asks him for a favor. He asks him to get a hold of the surveillance cameras at the location. He tells him that there is someone he wants to keep track of at all times. Sukju asks him when he need this by and he says right now. Ijin thinks if 006 starts to move, Grandfather and Daeun will be the first to be in danger. After some time, the chief gets informed that Ijin came there and he lent a motorcycle and he wonders why he came in the middle of the night. Sukju sent him an address and he should be there right now. He also reveals that his movements are a bit irregular and it looks like he was aware of the CCTVs. That means he is trying to hide his tracks. Sukju thinks he asked about the target's route means he already started moving to save time. Ijin reaches the target place and thinks if he drags this on, he will be at a disadvantage since he has people to protect. He has to end it here. Meanwhile, 006 is sitting somewhere and loading his gun. He receives a call and they informed him about 001 that he is in Korea and ask him to eliminate the traitor right now. In the meantime, Ijin reaches there and 006 tries to fire his gun but he blocks his attack. They both start fighting and 006 knew that he will find him. They have been trained together and know each other weak points. 006 realizes that he is stronger than before and attacks him with a dagger. He again attacks him, but Ijin dodges his all attacks. He then pushes him back and runs toward his gun and picks it up, but none of the bullets touches Ijin. He tries to run away, but Ijin thinks he can't let him get away. He runs after him, but he takes his bike and runs away. Suddenly, a car comes and strikes his motorcycle while Sukju is the one who hit him. He asks him if he is okay, but he doesn't look okay at all, and they tied 006 him up. Ijin asks him to get up as he knows he is conscious, and 006 didn't think that he had a backup. He says it was his mistake thinking he wouldn't work with anyone and asks him what he wants him to know. Ijin asks him who else other than him got the order to eliminate him, and he reveals that there is anyone other than him and he is closest to their location. The camp doesn't want others to know that they made the mistake of thinking he was dead, so they will try to eliminate him as soon as possible. But they will ever give up since the camp sustained a lot of damage because of him, especially that mad dog, who will be leading the charge to kill him. He tells him everything without stalling in consideration of their relationship. He thinks Ijin is coming towards him, but he cuts his tape and untied him. He asks him why is he not killing him, and Ijin says why should he kill you? There is a reason for him to live, that he can't escape the camp as he has also experienced it himself. While leaving, he says his family is in danger as they will try to use his family to eliminate him. Ijin knows this already and says this would have turned out differently if he went after his family instead of him, but he will try his best to protect his family. He always calls him 001 and asks him his real name, and he says it's you, Ijin. He then tells him his name is Liam, and it's been 10 years since they last exchanged their names. After that, Ijin silently comes home, but Grandpa was still awakening. Meanwhile, Daeun also appears from her room as she was also waiting for him. She tells him that she had kept food for him on the table so he can eat if he wants. He then takes his food. On the other hand, Sukju receives a thank you message from Ijin. When Sukju and Yuna arrive at school the next day, Ijin says he has something to tell Sukju. He takes him to the break room and says he should tell him about what is going on. He tells him the person he ran over with the car yesterday was someone he used to work with in the past, and he came to meet him. When they come back to class, Yuna asks Sukju what did they talk about, and Sukju replies he was just asking how to rank up in the league. After school, a boy comes to Daeun and asks about her contact info, and says he just wants to keep in touch with her. When Daeun refuses, he gets angry and says he is not asking her to date him but just needs her contact number. Meanwhile, Hyunjin comes up there and punches his face. The boy leaves without saying anything and straight goes to Tisu and tells him about Hyunjin and that some boys tried to beat him up. The boy takes him to Daeun and Ijin, who are going to home, and when they saw Ijin they all get pale. Tisu asked the boy if he asked that girl for the contact info, and when he says yes, he himself starts to beat him up. At night, he receives a phone call from 006 and he informs him that he has planted some evidence as far away from him as possible to cause as much confusion for them as possible. The next day, Hyunjin and Yoonchun tell him about yesterday's incident. Yoonchun says they were wearing Gosok High uniforms and Sukju says this can't be just a coincidence, and they should not let their guard down. Yuna interrupts them and says Daeun has always been popular because she is pretty. Yoonchun also agrees with her, but people started growing distant from her once Kim Kisun and his sister started bullying her. Sukju says they should confirm the situation and go right after school after them. On the other hand, Tisu is worried as people are not listening to them, and his men advise him to clean up the area as soon as possible. He gets up and says them to start right now when Sukju and Ijin reach there. Ijin asks why they mess with his sister, while Tisu explains that they didn't know she was his sister and that his brother just happened to talk with a random girl. Moreover, he will tell his brother to not to go after her, and Ijin and Sukju leave the place after hearing this. After some time, he goes to the convenience store to eat some noodles with the chief and he asks him about his activities after school. Ijin replies he is just living a normal high school life. One day, Yuna's grandpa invites him for tea and asks him a basic question about his lifestyle and training. It seems like he wants to say something but can't say it. During training, Jia's secretary says he is not standing out as much as when he started and it feels like he is holding himself back to go unnoticed. She remembers when she asked Kang about Ijin, but his expression told her that he definitely knows something about him. While they were going to her office, she asks Ijin if he knows Lieutenant Kang and his sudden reaction tells her that he knows him very well. Ijin is shocked to know that she is the lieutenant's fiancée. After some time, Jie goes to the washroom when there appears a girl and she fainted her. They take down her guards too, and after a while, Ijin got informed about her disappearance. The secretary orders them to check every exit and check every CCTV. Meanwhile, Ijin runs toward the parking lot as they must escape by car. He notices a car there and runs toward it, but the car hits him and he falls to the ground. He immediately informs the other guard that he has located the vehicle, and himself runs after the car. He grabs the car while the other guards are rushing toward them, but they are too late, and the car driver takes the car by hitting them. He is still holding the car and thinks about Kang as she is his family and precious to him. The driver takes a turn and falls on the ground, and he runs after them but they ran away. Meanwhile, the secretary reaches there and tells him that they took a right turn at the corner ahead. The secretary asks him to go home as he is still a high schooler and not an official bodyguard, but Ijin says he will accompany him at any cost. Yuna also got informed about Jia's kidnapping, and that Team 2 Seconds leader and Ijin are currently in pursuit. Ijin and the secretary reach the place where they took Jie and he asks Ijin to stay there and he will go inside. But when he gets out of the car, there are a large number of people. They don't have the time to wait for the reinforcement team and Ijin says he can handle them. They both get attacked by the kidnappers and Ijin easily takes one of them down. He attacks them one by one and defeats them all. On the other hand, the kidnappers think SW's group caught them faster than expected and they are moving to the next area. But before that, the secretary reaches there and, in the meantime, someone attacks him from behind but he caught him up. Meanwhile, the kidnappers put the gun on Jie's head and blackmail him so that they will kill her. If he moves, she will die. He fires a bullet that touches his shoulder and is again about to fire a bullet when a bullet comes from a side and touches his arm. Ijin comes from a side and holds Jie's wheelchair. A bullet touches his shoulder and the secretary blocks his path and asks Ijin to run and not look back. When Jie gets into consciousness, Ijin keeps their hand on her mouth and asks her to keep quiet. She just remembers that she was in the bathroom and Ijin tells her that her head is going to hurt from the sleeping drug, so she doesn't need to be alarmed. Moreover, the police and the rest of the SW team are coming to rescue them. Meanwhile, the kidnapper girl reaches there and asks them to come outside. She says it is better for them to kill the target than to waste time there and get caught, so she wants to finish this quickly. Jie thinks she can't bring more harm to Ijin as he is still a student and she will go outside by herself, but Ijin forbids her and asks her to keep quiet. He himself goes outside and the kidnapper says he is really a kid. She asks him about Jie but Ijin doesn't say anything. She is about to fire a bullet but Jie comes outside and asks her to stop. In the meantime, Ijin attacks her and they both start fighting. She is a professional fighter but Ijin blocks her all attacks and she falls to the ground. After that, she picks up her gun but Ijin grabs the gun and points it toward her, but she thinks he can't pull the trigger as he is just a kid. But Ijin pulled the trigger and a bullet touches his leg. She recognizes him by his eyes and asks him if he is Jin and falls on the ground. On the other hand, the secretary is fighting with the other kidnappers and one of them put a gun on him and informs him about the woman who went after Ijin. He says she is the most skilled and trained among them and the kid must be experiencing pain worse than death right now. He is about to pull the trigger when Ijin comes there and shoots him. He is shocked to see him and wonders what happened to the woman that run after him. Ijin then shoots all the other kidnappers and the secretary is standing still in a state of shock as he shoots the gun without hesitating. Jie also appears there and thinks he is a professional. After a while, forces come there and arrested all of them. Jie orders the first aid team to check the secretary, and Ijin first. She then comes to him and inquires about his health. Ijin asks her for a favor. She informs his home that he is training while he will be staying at a dorm. She says she will inform her home and asks him to get treated first. After a while, the secretary comes to him and appreciates him as he did well. On the other side, a man comes to a person and informs him about the failure of the kidnapping. While he replies that they just wanted to send a warning to SW and that if this continues they will be wary of acquiring more businesses. The police investigate the kidnappers and she revealed that she didn't know about SW was in control of that monster and if they had known that he was there, they wouldn't have gone about it like this. The policeman says he doesn't have any idea about what is she saying, but she tells him everything about Ijin, that he is a mercenary and usually hides his face, but she recognized him after seeing his eyes. Jie is in the hospital and asks her secretary about Ijin and he reveals that when he was fighting he has several cracked ribs and broken fingernails. He also had a gunshot graze in his shoulder, but he was still fighting in that condition. She gets up and goes to Ijin's room where he is ready to go. He says he is going home as he has not been home in 2 days, while Jie says he still needs treatment so he should stay at the hospital. She then asks him what will he tell his family when he gets home, and Ijin replies for the exposed wounds he will tell them he got hurt during training. She then asks his secretary to step outside for a second and after that asks Ijin to come to him after he graduates as he has no advantage of working under Yuna because she is still a child. She assures him that she can take responsibility for his future, but Ijin asks her what she means about staying by Yuna's side. She thought that they both are dating, but Ijin says they are not and she is happy to know that Yuna just has a crush on him. He then goes to the home where Grandpa and Daeun get worried to see him and he tells them that he got hurt during training. Grandpa asks him if he is interested in the job he is getting training and he says yes, he has an interest. Ha says he will always cheer him on, no matter what he decides to do. On the other side, the camp's leader got informed that 032 ran away to find 001. Ijin thinks about the kidnapper girl who called him by his code name, which means she is related to the camp. He receives a call from Yuna and she called him at a restaurant. She inquires him about his health and tells him that she went to visit him but they didn't allow him to go to his room. Suddenly, he receives a message from Yihang and he told him that they are missing a person. After a while, Daeun was going home when she heard some boys bullying a boy and is the same as that day. When he sees Daeun, he gets scared and explains to her that boy picked the fight first. She asks them to let him go and they immediately leave him. She then inquires the boy if he is okay and the boy asks her to buy her some food as he is hungry. She takes him to a store and buys him some food. He seems very hungry and eats with speed. He reveals that he just landed in this country and lost his wallet and been starving for a few days. Daeun says he should go to the embassy and asks for help and gives him some money to buy something with this if he gets hungry. Ijin has a dream in which he entered a house and there was a father who was hiding his child. He got the order to eliminate the target, but he was confused if he should kill them or not. He opens his eyes and gets up immediately and goes outside the room where Grandpa asks him to go back and get some rest, but he says he wants to go to school. But Grandpa says he can't go to school and has to rest for some days more. Daeun also asks him to agree with Grandpa. He goes outside where he notices a boy and runs after him, but he gets lost for a moment. He goes to an empty building where that boy appears and put the gun on him. He pulls the trigger, but Ijin saves himself and hides under a shade. He calls him 001 and Ijin recognizes him as he is 032 and tells him that 006 tried to put them on the trial, but he didn't follow him and didn't know that he will find him this quickly. Ijin asks him if the camp sent him to eliminate him, and if they didn't, he must have run on his own. He has come here to take revenge for 006's death, as the camp eliminated him and he considered him his family. In the meantime, Ijin attacks him and takes the gun from him, but he attacks him again with his dagger, but he holds his hand. He guesses that his body is not in the best condition while Ijin asks him if he reported everything to the camp, but he doesn't reply and says he is not their leader anymore. He is just a target for elimination. On the other hand, Daeun is thinking about Ijin during the lecture, and that he needs to eat to get better quickly while he is fighting with 032. He again asks him if he reported to the camp, but he says he will not tell anything to a traitor who betrayed them and killed 006. He again attacks him, but Ijin blocks his attack and falls him to the ground. Ijin again asks him if he is chasing him because of his duty to the camp or to get revenge on 006, but he doesn't reply and pulls the trigger of the gun. But Ijin hides under a shade. He is out of bullets now and thinks to go back and restock and ran away. Ijin tries to run after him, but he is seriously injured. He calls Sukju and asks him to track someone using CCTC like the last time. Meanwhile, 032 is thinking why Ijin asked him questions like that and didn't kill him when Tisu's brother sees him and comes to bully him. First, he tried to avoid them, but they were many in number, so he just beats them all. He again passes by Daeun and returns the money she gave him last time. But Daeun takes him to a store and buys some food for him. She asks his age, and it is revealed that he is the same age as her and tells her that he is on vacation by himself. After some time, Ijin reaches there and is shocked to see both of them talking to each other. He hides in a shade and watches them. While they were chatting, he rushes toward him and attacks him, and starts to beat him up. He thinks the girl gets involved in this because of him and asks Ijin to go somewhere else, as that girl has nothing to do with him. Meanwhile, Daeun calls him Appa and asks what is going on there. Ijin asks her to hurry and get away from there, while 032 asks them if they know each other. Daeun replies that he is his older brother and apologizes to him for his behavior while he is in a state of shock by hearing this. Ijin again asks her to step away for a moment and she agrees on this. When she leaves, 032 asks him why he is fooling people by telling them he is their family, including Daeun. But Ijin says he will only answer if he answers his question first. He reveals that he came here discreetly once he heard he killed 006, and he didn't chase him out of loyalty to the camp as he wanted to take revenge for 006's death. Ijin tells him that 006 is not dead and he fakes his death to hide. He then asks him why is he in this place, and Ijin replies he just simply came back home. He now asks him in anger how did he come to know Daeun. He states he just got help from her just now as well. 032 asks him if 006 is okay, while Ijin asks him how can he trust him as he betrayed the camp, but he says he betrayed the camp but not them. He again asks him if there is a way to contact 006, but he says there is not any way until he contacts them first. He reveals that no one knows in the camp that he is alive except a few top-ranking officials, and says he will be going again to the camp after leaving his traces to some other countries. They notice that Daeun is watching them from a shade, and 032 is shocked that Ijin can make a smiling face. He then leaves by saying goodbye to them, and Daeun asks him why did he do that thing earlier. Ijin replies he thought some weirdo was hitting on her because she is pretty. After that, 032 goes to a home where someone is waiting for him and he recognizes him as he is Aiden. He asks him what is he doing in a place like this and he should have called for backup. He also asks him if he found the traitor and he replies no. He then takes out his dagger and attacks him because the camp has sent him to kill him. He reveals that he always wanted to kill but was scared of 006 as he couldn't handle him, but now he got that chance. They both start fighting, but he is too strong that 032 can't stand against him. Aiden picks up his gun and pulls the trigger, which hits his leg. He runs to save his life and Aiden follows him. Meanwhile, Ijin reaches there and saves him. Aiden recognizes him as 001 and attacks him, but Ijin easily takes him down and smashes his head on the wall. 032 asks him how did he get there, while Ijin gives him a bag full of things. Daeun sent him here by saying he has no money, while he laughs at him and asks why did he change so much. Did he injure his head, or maybe if his memories came back, is this how he originally was? He took Aiden to Yuna's grandpa and he reveals that he is an internationally wanted man and now he will be locked up somewhere to be kept separated from the world. 2 hours ago, 032 told Ijin that he is going back to the camp so that they do not doubt him for Aiden's disappearance. He didn't have any choice because if he hides, the camp will locate him. While leaving, he asked Ijin to protect his real life. Meanwhile, Jie comes there and asks him what is he doing there, and he replies he has some business there. She offers him a part-time job and says she will compensate him properly, but Ijin refused instantly. When he leaves, the secretary asks her if she wants to ask him to be the bodyguard for Cha Seoha, and she replies that she wants the same thing after the incident with the stalker. After some time, Ijin meets Grandpa and in the street and he tells him that he was getting some fresh air. He also tells him about Daeun's birthday, which is in a few days, and he asks him about the things that Daeun likes. After a while, he calls Jie and asks her about the job offer, and she asks him to meet her 20 studio by 4 p.m. tomorrow. At PC Cafe, Yihyun is talking about Cha Seoha and that she is going to be the lead actress in a webtoon drama coming out soon. The next day at the studio, Seoha gets informed that a bodyguard is coming. She says they already have a bodyguard sent by the company, then why are they sending a new one? Meanwhile, Ijin reaches there and informs that he is sent by SW Group while everyone including the old bodyguard is shocked. He comes inside and introduces himself to Seoha and she wonders why SW sent a kid under training. Maybe they are planning to debut him in the industry. He asks them about the stalker who is following Seoha and the way he is stalking her. She reveals that the stalker found her address and leaves weird letters in her mailbox. She then asks him about his age and he remembers when the secretary forbids him to tell his age, so he says his age is a secret. The old bodyguard calls him and asks him to come outside as he wants to talk to him. He then orders him to stand on the side and watch him as he will take care of everything. Ijin asks him if he is Kim Cheolyung, a part of the affiliate bodyguarding team, but he gets angry and grabs his shoulder and says he can't answer him. Ijin doesn't say anything to him while Seoha comes there and asks him if he is okay and apologizes to him about the bodyguard's behavior. During her shoot, Ijin surveys the whole area, and when the shoot has done, he asks everybody to not go outside. Moreover, the police will be here soon, and everyone needs to be investigated. On being inquired, he shows them a mini camera that he found in the waiting room. Cheolyung snatches the camera from him and tries to punch his face, but Ijin blocks his attack. The police came there, but they couldn't figure out who installed it there. The manager reveals they are trying to investigate it, and they will surely find something out soon. Ijin gets out of the car near Seoha's house and says he will go by himself. Meanwhile, Seoha gets out of the home wearing the mask, but she is shocked to see that Ijin was still there. She asks him what is he doing there, and Ijin replies he was just looking at the area. She was going to the convenience store and Ijin also accompanied her. She asks him what he normally does when he hangs out, and Ijin replies he goes to the PC cafe with his friends after school time, while she is shocked to learn that he is a high schooler. She asks him to take her to the PC cafe where all of his friends are shocked to see her. She has come here to play games with them, and they seem much impressed by her. After that, they all get her autograph on their shirts while Ijin is going to drop her at home. She asks him why did a high schooler like him become a bodyguard, and Ijin replies that he wanted money to buy a birthday present for his younger sister. She is shocked to hear his answer and thinks he must be close to his sister. When they get back home, a man is standing there and asks Seoha to come to the director and asks Ijin to stay outside. The director asks her why is she not picking up her call and thinks she is angry as she met some celebrities. Seoha says she doesn't care whom he meets as they broke up a long time ago, and asks him to not call her again and not visit her without telling her. She tries to get out of the car, but he holds her hand and scolds her by saying she doesn't even know her place. He threatens to bury her in the industry and destroy her parents' jobs as well. Meanwhile, Ijin comes up there and gets him out of the car and asks Seoha to come out of the car. The director yells at him and asks him who is he, while Ijin replies he is the bodyguard. He then leaves by threatening Seoha, and she shouts at Ijin about why he did this to him. Ijin says he just did his job. The next day, Cheolyung comes to him and asks why he made a mess yesterday, while Ijin again replies he just did his job. He yells at him and says the one he messed with him is one of KP Group's own and the director of the marketing department. After some time, the representative of the company comes to Seoha and asks her to apologize to the director. When she refused to do so, he warns him to sign a contract with them as she still hasn't put the stamp on the contract. Moreover, he orders her to cut the bodyguard from the job while she says he didn't do anything wrong. But if she contracts the sign with them, then they may think about Ijin to net getting him out of the job. He asks her to put the stamp and let's go with him to eat and bring that bodyguard too. Ijin appears there and the representative asks him to quit the job and they will inform the SW group about that. Ijin doesn't reply to them and asks Seoha to go to the next appointment. The director challenges him to try and take her if he can. The other guards come and say they will take care of him and ask him to get out of there. But Seoha gets up and says she is firing him at the moment, but Ijin remains at standstill. The guard comes to attack him, but he pushes him back to the ground. Ijin reveals that the director created a stalker to be timed with Seoha's recontracting and then used a bodyguard to officially follow and keep an eye on her. He also knows that Seoha is receiving countless threats because she doesn't want to contract the sign. The director gets angry about this while Ijin is waiting for Seoha's order. She says she just wants to get out of there. Meanwhile, the director comes to attack her, but Ijin comes in between and kicks him away. He asks him if he has any idea about whom he is messing with and that both of their lives are over now. After a while, Jie comes there and says she sent him here because it was supposed to be an easy job. But there has been a huge mess here. She then says to Ijin that she will take care of the things there and he can go take care of his business. The director asks Jie what is she doing there, and she says if he wants business with her younger sibling then they should talk to her. On the other hand, when they go outside, Ijin asks her where she wants to go, but Seoha suddenly starts to cry. Jie settles the legal problems with her agency, and now she can decide future on her own. Seoha asks her why is she helping her so much, and Jie reveals that their subsidiary has a lot of interest in her. She goes outside where a new bodyguard from the SW group is standing there and says he will accompany her from now on. She asks about Ijin and he says he quit the job, which makes her sad. On the other side, Jie tells Ijin that they have made a contract with Seoha and sent a new bodyguard there so he can take a rest for some more days. After some time, He receives a message from Daeun who asks him if it was the bodyguard for Seoha and asks him for her autograph as she is a fan of hers. In the meantime, Seoha appears there. She comes there for a business and asks him why he quit the job all of a sudden, and Ijin says his injury started hurting again so he didn't think he could perform his duty in this condition. She asks for his mobile phone and saves her personal contact number in it and says she is grateful to him so he wanted to do something for him. After a while, Daeun is sitting in her class when Seoha appears there and brings flowers for her and wishes her a happy birthday while Daeun is in a state of shock. She also takes a selfie with her and sends it to Ijin. Grandpa and Ijin celebrate her birthday at home and Grandpa gifts her a new mobile phone while Ijin gifts her a new Samsung notebook. Grandpa asks him where did he get the money to buy this and he replies he did a part-time job. Seoha calls him and asks him about Daeun's birthday and he tells her they are still celebrating right now. She asks him if he is busy tomorrow and Ijin replies he is planning to participate in the training. She then asks if he is busy on the day after tomorrow, but he again replies the same, that he is participating in the training. She becomes angry about this and keeps the call. After a while, he receives a call from an unknown caller and there is 006 on the other side. He asks him to meet him as he just landed in the country. Ha has come here to ask him about 032 and that he came here to eliminate him. Ijin informs him that he went back to the camp after failing to kill him, but 006 revealed that he didn't show up at the camp. On the other hand, he is being caught up by the other mercenaries and they are asking him why he ran away from the camp and where is Aiden. When he didn't reply to their questions, they start to torture him. 006 tells Ijin that he is going to find 032, but with that, the camp will find out that he fakes his death. Ijin also decides to go with him. The next day, Yuna enters the class and asks about Ijin and Yoongchan replies he has not been to school yesterday and said he was busy. On the other hand, 006 and Ijin reach the location where they think 032 should be and the place is being guarded by many mercenaries. One of them put the gun on 032 but someone shoots him from a side. It seems like they recognize him but he killed everyone present there. When Ijin and 006 reach there, they found everyone has been dead. They go inside but the situation there is the same as outside. After a while, they find 032 who fainted but still breathing. Ijin thinks this is strange as the enemies up front were shot down, but the enemies the furthest in were killed by stabbing. This the method of only one person and he is 004 who always said that there is no thrill when he just plays safe. Suddenly, he appears there from a side and attacks them but Ijin shots his hand and his gun falls down. He then tries to attack him with his dagger but Ijin blocks his attack and pushes him back. He thinks Ijin is one of the mercenaries who are there and tries to kill him but Ijin is better than him at fighting. He asks him if he is not of those guys because if there was someone as skilled as him among the camp's mercenaries, he would have known by now. In the meantime, 006 shots him from the window and he runs away from window. Ijin follows him but he takes his car and runs away. 032's condition was not good so they took him in a car but can't take him to the hospital. Ijin asks him to come with him as he knows a place where he can get treatment, but 006 says he will get in danger if he stays with them. He asks him to split up there and from now on he will take care of the other things. On the other hand, 004 is doing his bandage and thinking about Ijin's skills and then he finds out that he was 001. Ijin came back home late at night while Daeun was still awakening. She asks him if he finished his business for which he had gone and asks him to eat the sandwich she has left on the table. After that, when he came back to his room, he received a call from Seoha and she asks him to meet her tomorrow and talk for a bit. The next day, he goes to meet her and she asks him why didn't he go for training. Ijin replies he has decided to rest a few more days. She calls him there for a consult with him and for asking him a favor which is about her brother. He is also a high schooler and he is getting more and more injuries day by day, but if she asks him he doesn't say a word and goes to his room. She requests Ijin to look into what is going on with her brother. After that, Ijin goes to his school and recognizes him by his picture. His name is Cha Jinwoo and he is from Myonghan High School. When he enters his class fellows ask him why he comes late to class as they ask him to come earlier. Jinwoo apologizes to them and says he was not feeling well, so he got late. One of them asks him to hold his bag in front of him and when he did so, he kicks his bag and Jinwoo falls to the ground. He asks him to again hold up his bag as this time he wants to try a punch. Meanwhile, the other two say they are hungry and he then sits down and asks Jinwoo to bring someone for them to eat. When he goes outside, Ijin just follows him. He goes to the cafe and buys some things for them while Ijin just stands outside. When he was going to the class, he sees Ijin there and wonders who is he. Meanwhile, he falls to the ground. Ijin comes there to help him and then sits with him. Jinwoo thinks he is so handsome but why he hasn't seen him before. Ijin tells him that he doesn't study in this school. He states he just come there to visit the school. Suddenly, Jinwoo receives a call from his fellows and rushes toward the class. When he reaches there, they again start to bully him. The same boy again gets up and this time he punches him and holds him by his neck and Jinwoo almost faints. When he gets into consciousness, he finds himself in the infirmary and Ijin is sitting beside him and asks him why hasn't he told this to his sister, and Jinwoo wonders how he knows that Seoha is his sister. He states if he gets out that Seoha's brother is a bread shuttle, it would cause her trouble. According to him, celebrities have to take care of their image and not just themselves, but their families too, and if she finds out that her brother is an idiot, she will be hurt. Ijin asks him to tell any teacher but he says if it was that simple, he wouldn't be going through all this. He then asks him about his future plans. Meanwhile, he receives a message from his class fellows and they ask him to bring food for them, and he says he has to endure this until graduation. Ijin comes outside the infirmary while he had Seoha on call the whole time, and she heard their whole conversation. On the other hand, Jinwoo's class fellows are waiting for him when Ijin reaches there, and they ask him who is he, but without saying anything he starts to beat them up. He defeats 4 boys in just a moment when the last one gets up by saying he wants to try using his moves in a real fight without gloves or rules. He comes forward and attacks him, but Ijin holds his hand and punches him. He then lifts his leg and falls to the ground. All the other students are in a state of shock. Meanwhile, the other students come to fight him. 2 of them come forward, but their condition is the same as the guys earlier. Now they all gang on him. On the other hand, Jinwoo is thinking about Ijin. He came up suddenly and then disappeared. He notices a lot of students gathered outside his classroom, and a boy falls outside the classroom. He goes inside where Ijin is beating all of them and is shocked to see that he beats all of them. One of them gets up and asks him why is he doing this to all of them, and Ijin asks him when they bully others then they have reason for that, and says he will come back if he hears they are bullying anyone again, and next time he will not end up like this. He thinks Ijin must be the friend of someone whom they messed up with. He doesn't seem to agree with him, and Ijin again starts to beat him and smashes his head on the floor again and again until he asks him to stop. He says he will do the same as he is saying and will not mess with anyone anymore. Ijin gets up and leaves the class without saying anything, and one of them again shouts at Jinwoo and asks him to come to him. Ijin again comes up there and again smashes his head on the wall. He then holds his hand and breaks his finger. He again says that he will not mess up with anyone, and this time he means it, while Ijin says he will again come back there. While leaving, he tells Jinwoo that he has paid him for the food. After that, all the students were sent to the hospital, and they are still confused about Ijin and everyone is talking about him. After a while, Seoha comes there and calls him while everyone is shocked to see her there. She asks Jinwoo why he keeps ignoring her calls, and the class is shocked to learn that she is the older sister of Jinwoo. She asks him to grab his bag as he is coming with her, and calls one of the girls who bully her little brother and use the male students and told them what to do. She warns them to wait and says she will sue all of them and takes Jinwoo with her. The next day, Ijin goes to school and his friends ask him to call Seoha to play with them. Yuna and Seokju now learn that he was guarding Seoha when they were in America. She gets up and says she wants to talk something to Ijin and asks them to give them space, but they refuse to do so. She then asks Ijin if he has some time to spare today, but he also refuses and says he is going grocery shopping with Daeun after school, and Yuna asks if she can come with them. They all go for grocery shopping, and Seokju asks him if he met other celebrities while guarding Seoha, and he says he didn't, so the job for a long time. Daeun invites Yuna at her home for dinner and she agrees immediately. At night, Seokju and Yuna go to their home for dinner, and Yuna appreciates Ijin's cooking. She asks him where he learned to cook like this, and he replies that he just followed a video on YouTube step by step. When they finish eating, Yuna says she will do the dishes, but Daeun refuses and says she will do that. She gets angry about this and says she will do it and follows Ijin to the kitchen. The next day, it is revealed that a VIP is coming to visit the SW group. His name is Louis Bailey and is the 3rd son of the Bailey group. They are visiting them due to a mutual exchange between the Bailey group and SW, and Team 3 will be the main team looking after their security, especially Seokju and Ijin need to pay a lot of attention. Louis comes up and hugs Yuna while she is thinking about Ijin so that he must not misunderstand this. Louis asks her why is she feeling embarrassed in front of her security team. Moreover, he asks if SW doesn't teach their attendants to keep their mouths shut and pretend they don't see their master's actions. While having dinner, he asks Yuna if she thought about his offer of being engaged to him. Yuna asks him to talk about it later and thinks she doesn't want Ijin to know about this. Louis says he has come all the way here to personally hear her answer, but she is avoiding the topic while Yuna says she gave her answer at that time. He says she doesn't have a solid position and power in SW, and compared to her other relatives, her skills are not recognized. So because of that, it feels like she is being shunned when she tries to do something at SW. That is why she needs to connect with him, and that will help SW as well. Yuna feels so embarrassed to hear all this. Meanwhile, Ijin comes forward and asks her to move to the next location, to arrive at the next destination on time. They will need to leave right now. Louis becomes furious about this and says if this is how SW trains their security. He asks Yuna if the bodyguard acts on his own accord or if she told him to do so, while Yuna says she told him to inform her as they have to take care of the important formalities. Louis says he wants to talk to her for a bit, and Yuna asks them to give them some space. When they leave, he orders his guards to leave as well and asks Yuna if the reason for her rejection is that bodyguard. Moreover, he says he has no issue if she dates him after engaging to him and can go out with him as much as she wants. He then gets up and asks her to give him an answer when he gets back. After a while, GA asks Yuna why she had not finished her schedule with Louis, as the formalities were very important to do with Louis. She asks him to be responsible. On the other side, Louis investigated Ijin and he learns that he is in the same class as Yuna and currently undergoing training for bodyguarding at SW. The next day, when they have finished their tasks, he says he wants to meet all the bodyguards SW. GA wonders what is he thinking about having a meetup with the guards. He claims that Yuna's bodyguards are still students and one of them is an apprentice, and asks Yuna if she chooses him by herself. She says there must be a misunderstanding, and he demands a friendly match between his bodyguards and the guards of the SW group. Yuna says their bodyguards are there to protect them, not to put a show for them. Louis asks Ijin's opinion on this as the whole conversation starts because of him and says he is hiding behind a person whom he is supposed to be protecting. He now calls all the guards and says they are hiding behind Yuna and they should be embarrassed for that. The Team 3 leader states they have to be with their client at all times, so they can't accept the sparring match as if they get injured. They will not be able to carry out their duties and allows Team 2 to do it. GA asks Team 2 if they want to do it and they agree on this. Lewis thinks she provoked all of them just because of Ijin, but he will not be participating and still hiding behind her until the end. Ijin comes forward but Yuna stops him and says he doesn't need to do it, while Ijin says he is a part of Team 2 as well. First, a guard faces him and Lewis tells him to take him down. Their fight begins and Ijin takes him down in just one attack. Meanwhile, Lewis and his guards are in a state of shock. GA and the other guards applaud him. The other guards is about to come but Ijin stops him and challenges Lewis in front of all, but he sent another trained guard to beat him. They start fighting while his condition is the same as the previous one, and he calls the next one to come, angering Lewis. He shouts at his guard that they got defeated by a child and sent another guard to him. Sukju thinks the guard is now careful as he knows Ijin's skills. He attacks him but he blocks his all attacks and grabs him by his neck and falls him to the ground. He calls for the next guard while Lewis's guard asks him to withdraw as their guards are not enough to win against him. One of the guards comes forward and announces that the friendly spar will end there. Meanwhile, all the Team 2 cheers up Ijin. Ijin asks Yuna about what is she feeling while she seems to be in a good mood. After that, Yuna informs Grandpa about the spar and that Ijin won against all of them by himself. On the other hand, Lewis asks Ijin to come and work for him and he will give him a permanent position in his agency, but he declines his offer. He then offers him thrice the salary he gets there, but he again declines the offer. He then asks him to stay away from Yuna as she is not someone suitable to hang around with a guy like him. Ijin replies he is just doing his duty and leaves the room. He then shouts at his team if they didn't end up like that, Ijin wouldn't dare to act arrogant in front of him. The team leader claims the opponent was so tough that he wouldn't be able to win in hand-to-hand combat against him. The next day, he again asks Yuna about his proposal, but Yuna asks him to give her one more day to think about it. On their way back, she appreciates Ijin that he worked very hard till now and today's schedule is all finished. Meanwhile, Ijin notices someone behind her and returns back to see him, but he is gone. He asks Yuna if he can go as he has an urgent task to do and Sukju allows him to go. He rushes toward him while the man goes to the JS hotel where Lewis is being stayed. On the other hand, Lewis has called a hacker to hack some files when suddenly, a man comes up there and points a gun toward them. He shoots Lewis but the guard comes in between and a bullet touches him. He again tries to shoot them. Meanwhile, Ijin reaches there and rushes toward him. The guard thinks he is doing a stupid thing to rush head on into someone who is carrying a gun. He grabs the gun from him and points toward him, but the man pulls out his dagger. Meanwhile, Ijin shoots him, which makes Lewis and the guard shocked. Yuna's grandpa learns that during his days as Mercenary, he found and followed someone who was working as an assassin, and he doubts that the assassin's target is Lewis, and that the person behind this is the second son of the Bailey family. The next day, Yuna rejects his offer and says he can't go through with marriage without feelings of love. He states that he is indebted to her boyfriend, but Yuna clarifies that he is not his boyfriend. Lewis is shocked to know that Shin Yuna from SW has a crush on a bodyguard who doesn't even know about this. He again asks Ijin if he doesn't have any thoughts of working for him, and everyone is shocked that he wants to take Ijin with him. After some time, Daeun sees Sukju on the road and asks him what is he doing there, but he asks her to keep quiet. On the other side, Yuna is sitting with Ijin and pays her gratitude to him, but he says it was not just him. All the other bodyguards worked hard as well. She then asks him about his goal and the lifestyle he wants to live in the future, but he replies he just wants to be with his family since they are the most important to him right now. At night, Yuna goes to GA and asks her to take over her company as she is not prepared either and not sure if she will have the qualification in the future. She then calls Ijin and asks her to meet her for a while. The chief is thinking about Ijin and wants to call him when Hyung-nim comes to meet him. The chief asks him when did he land in Korea as he was staying in Russia, and he replies he has been there for 2 days as there was something he had to do, so he came up there. He offers the chief to join forces with him as if they join forces, they will be able to swallow this country whole. But the chief refuses and says he is not capable to do that, and after some time, he leaves his place. After a while, Daeun goes to Ijin's room and he is pull-ups there and she appreciates him. Meanwhile, he receives a message from the chief who invites him for a cup of noodles. He comes outside when he is waiting for him and asks him about his probationary period with the SW's security team. The next day, Chief and his man go to help Grandpa while he is asking them to not help him and is shocked that why they are helping him. The chief received a phone call and gets informed that their business got ambushed. When he comes back, there is destruction and blood everywhere, and his man informs him that the SD card from the CCTV has disappeared and all 6 men are critically injured. 5 of them are in a coma and the last one is conscious, but he doesn't remember anything. After a while, he receives a phone call from Hyung-nim and he is asking him about his targeted business and asks him if he has doubts about someone. After hanging up, he asks his men to clean the things as soon as possible, and he is the one who is behind everything. The chief goes to the other T's, but they swear that they didn't do anything. He has no idea about the real culprit. On the other hand, Daeun asks Ijin to give food to the chief and his men as they help Grandpa in recycling. Ijin goes to his home and tells him that his sisters told him to bring the food to him, and he invites Ijin to come in for a bit and drink something. The chief thinks his mother prepared the food and appreciates her cooking. but Ijin clarifies to him that his sister made it and he is shocked that a little girl made the whole food. He wants to give him something to drink but he only has alcohol in his refrigerator while Ijin says he should head off now. Meanwhile, he receives a call and someone informs him that his man Hyun-suk is missing. It is revealed that yesterday early morning, 2 more businesses were hit, and at the same time, Hyun-suk was in a car accident but they were not able to find him. The chief orders all of them to find him as he is their first priority. He again hears a call from Hyung-nim and he asks him if he hits again by someone and asks him about someone who is attacking him suddenly. The chief counter questions him why is he attacking him suddenly and he replies he did it purposely so that he will notice him. He is doing this because he wants to make an example out of the chief so that the others will not bite their owners as he did. At the same time, he is torturing Hyun-suk and the chief asks him why is he getting Hyun-suk involved when he is his main target of him. He reveals that Hyun-suk was behind him and assigned people to follow him and someone who sent him has paid more money to kill Hyun-suk with him also. The chief warns him if he killed Hyun-suk, he will kill him but he doesn't seem to notice anything. Suddenly, a man falls to the ground and comes from outside. Ijin enters there while Hyun-suk wonders why he is there. He is shocked that he has come here to save him while Hyung-nim asks his men to kill him. They all attack him at once but Ijin is blocking all of them. After that, another man comes up but Ijin hits all of his weak points together and kicks his face. He then takes out his dagger while Hyung-nim is shocked to see all this. Meanwhile, Ijin holds his hand and falls him to the ground. He asks him about his identification and that he didn't know that the chief has a guy like him under him. He then goes to Hyun-suk and he asks him why he came to save him while Hyung-nim offers to come and work for him as it's a waste for him to work under the chief. If he comes with him, he can go as wild as he wants and when he doesn't agree with him, he takes out his gun and points toward him. Ijin moves with much speed that he misses his shots and attacks his dagger. He then attacks him and pulls him to the wall while Hyung-nim thinks he finished him in just one strike. He shouts at him and says he will kill him but Ijin grabs his arm and breaks his bone. Hyun-suk is feeling relieved that he finished Hyung-nim and his gang. In the meantime, the chief reaches there with his gang and orders his men to take Hyun-suk to the hospital, shocked to see Ijin there, and thanks him. Hyung-nim shouts at him and says he shouldn't be a gangster and should have gotten a normal job. The chief orders his men to go forward and beats him to death. When Ijin comes back home, Daeun was still awakening and asks him why he came back home late. She seems angry with him as he is gaming too much recently, and asks him to come home early while Ijin assures her that he will come back home early next time. Back in the past, when the chief gave money to Hyun-suk for the treatment of his grandmother, but even though he helped him, his grandmother passed away. He thanks him as because of him, his grandmother passed away peacefully. After that, he learned that the chief used his rent money to help him and was leaving in the sauna. He immediately went there and found him. He got emotional and thanked him. Come to the present, he opens his eyes and finds himself in the hospital. The chief is sitting beside him and apologizes to him that this all happened because of him. Hyun-suk says he had done so much for him and he repaid his debt. Moreover, he is glad that they didn't do anything wrong to Ijin and today they are alive because of him as he is not just good at fist fighting, but also amazing with knives. After a while, the secretary of Yuna's grandpa comes there. Ijin arranges some legal jobs for both of them by asking grandpa. He is sitting in the class when Hyunjin and Ihun come to him and ask him to go to PC Cafe with them. He refuses them by saying he has some tasks to do. He then asks Sukju if he has some time today to meet him and takes him to the convenience store and offers him noodles there. Sukju asks him why he has brought him there while Ijin says he just wanted to thank him. Sukju thinks he suddenly asked him if he had time with serious expressions so he got all worried. Meanwhile, 2 girls come there and ask them for their numbers. Ijin asks them if the numbers they are referring to are their phone numbers and when they say yes, he asks them the reason why they want their numbers. The girls get so embarrassed when Sukju gets up and excuses them by saying the boy has been living overseas for a long time and is not used to these things and they ran away. Sukju tells him that he didn't need to react like that when he just had to reject them, but Ijin says they were someone he didn't know and asked for his number. Meanwhile, all of their friends reach there and Sukju tells them about the girls and Yihyun shouts at him about why he didn't give his number. They get so angry that they leave them there and Yuna asks him what he is doing after school the next day and he reveals that he is going to take off for 2 days so that he can get training with Team 2. Then she asks if he is free in the afternoon and if she will visit him after he finishes his training. They all bring Daeun and tell her about Ijin and Sukju and that they didn't give their numbers to the girls. Sukju says they just replied to them with a one-word answer. On the other hand, the girls are talking about both of them and that they didn't give their number to Yesil, who is the prettiest girl in the school. The next day, Yihyun, Yunchin, and Hyunjin are going home after school when Yesil calls them and they are shocked that she talked to them. She tells them she is going to coin karaoke with his friends and is wondering if they wanted to come with them. She thinks they are Ijin's friends so they will hang out with them and then they will get them to make him come. But they refuse by saying they have a match today. The same day, Yuna's grandpa calls him and thanks him for saving Lewis, and they have made good deals with him while Ijin says it was his duty as a bodyguard. Grandpa says he wants to repay the person who brought those benefits to the company, but Ijin says he is on probation for the SW security, and the ones who did their job were the security team, so he should repay them, and Grandpa informs him that he has decided to give the security team a special bonus, but he again declines his offer by saying he is fine. Grandpa again tries to persuade him by saying the money will help his family, but he again declines and leaves his office. office. Grandpa's secretary informs him that Ijin has sent a large amount of money to the village where he used to live in when he was a mercenary, which means he gave up almost all of the money that he made during his mercenary days, which also means he didn't that job for money. When he gets outside, GA arrives there and asks him if he accepted Grandpa's offer, but when he is informed that he had declined the offer, she gets angry and thinks even though he has good fighting skills, but he is still a high schooler with no brain. Moreover, she will talk to the grandpa again, so he just doesn't do that again. During training, they all get reveals that they are going to have a work dinner, but they can't drink since Sukju and Ijin are also accompanying them. When they reach there, they all treat Ijin like a VIP because they get a huge bonus just because of him. When he comes home, Dayan asks him for the dinner and he tells her about the work dinner. Meanwhile, Grandpa comes up there and he had hurt himself during the job. They immediately take him to his room and Ijin asks Dayan to go and sleep as he will stay there. He then asks Grandpa to quit the job, but Grandpa says he doesn't need to worry about money because he has already set aside the money to send Dayan to university and for her marriage. Moreover, he can send him to university too. Yuna's grandpa again calls him, but his answer is the same as before. He says his money can help him financially, so he shouldn't reject it like that. Ijin informs him about his grandpa's will and that he wants to raise him and his sister and leaves his room. He faces a man outside and he asks his secretary to investigate the guy who just comes out of the president's office. On the other hand, Jia gets informed that her brother has come to visit the company and have a meeting with the president. Yongho asks Grandpa about the recent business they have started and he states that everything is fine. He then asks him about the kidnapping of Yuna and Jia and scolds the chief secretary about security. When he comes out of the office, his secretary informs him about Ijin, that he is a new employee and seems like he is quite skilled. Moreover, she heard that Yuna likes him and he seems angry about this. After training, Yuna comes to Ijin and asks him to go to the PC cafe with her. Meanwhile, Yongho arrives there and calls her. Sukju greets him, but he asks him why Yuna got kidnapped when he was with her and he apologizes to him. Yuna asks him to stop and let's go with her to eat something and takes him away. Sukju tells Ijin that he is Yuna's cousin and Jie's biological brother and he is the person whom Yuna fears the most. When he inquires about Lewis's proposal for marriage, she questions him as to how he knows and he replies that it was his idea. Yuna informs him that she rejected him and expresses disappointment in him for having given him the idea without first talking to her. He then suggested that she study overseas and that he would find a suitable partner for her while she was away from home. She again declined, stating that she didn't want to go. Yongho is shocked because that is the first time she is not listening to him, and this is because of that probationer bodyguard. He states that nothing good will come out of it for her future. Meanwhile, Jie reaches there and asks him why is he looking after his cousin more than his sister and asks Yuna to give them some space. Yongho asks her what is she doing there and she exclaims she wanted to have some tea with her brother, while he scolds her by saying she has decided to marry into a family that doesn't suit their standard and the progress of the new business is too slow. She exclaims that her fiancé's household is incredible, and the more she meets her, the more think he is a good person, while Yongho says she made that decision to gain her grandfather's favor. On the other side, when Yuna comes outside, she sees Sukju and Ijin waiting for her and she asks him why they didn't go home and they reply that they were working. He apologizes to both of them as because of her their plan had been ruined and takes them to the convenience store to eat noodles there. Yongho's secretary is watching them and informs him that she is with Sukju and Ijin. The next day, some bodyguards come up and reveal that they will be guarding Yuna against now on. And this is all happening on the orders of Yongho. The team leader asks him to go through the proper process as he is doing wrong, but he informs them that he has already discussed the matter with the chief of security. He scolds them by saying unprofessional because due to their negligence, Yuna got kidnapped. While sitting in the class, Ijin receives a message from Sukju that Team 3 will not be guarding Yuna against now on. After some time, Yongho's secretary informs him that Yuna has cancelled all of her plans and is in her room. Meanwhile, he receives a call from someone and assures them that Iron and SW soon be able to join forces. He then thinks that the SW is able to expand into the military industry through Jie's engagement, but he will not sit by and watch. At night, Ijin receives a call from Yuna and she asks him to meet outside the house. Before an hour ago, Yongho informs her that she is leaving in 2 days and she should get ready herself for that. Now, she asks Ijin about their friends and he tells her that they were curious about why she didn't come to school. She whispers to him by saying she is doing practice at home and asks him not to tell anyone. Ijin assures her that he will keep her secret. She was chatting with him when the secretary asks him to go home as it's been very late. She reveals that she is going abroad and that is the reason she called him. Moreover, she will not be able to come to school since she has many things to prepare. Ijin doesn't say anything and she gets up by saying she should leave now. When she reaches home, Sukju was waiting for her and asked her why she is going abroad and that Yengo has made a decision that he can't go with her this time. He again asks her if she really needs to go as he has seen her in the best condition until now. In the last few months, they had enjoyed themselves a lot and it looked like they were having lots of fun, but Yuna says she doesn't want to harm anyone around her, and if she stays there, Yongho will destroy everyone. The next day, Yuna's grandfather calls Ijin to his office all of a sudden and asks him about Yuna's condition as he met her the previous night. Ijin replies she was looking like she needed her family, but Grandpa says he is the person responsible for SW, so he can't just think about his family. After 2 days, Yongho's secretary informs him that Yuna has not come out of her room for 2 days and she has not met with Ijin. He thinks she has come to her senses. Meanwhile, Yuna is in her room reading the messages of her friends who are concerned about her. After a while, Yongho gets informed that the group that they arranged a meeting with in a few days suddenly wants to meet Yuna, and he says she is very good prey for him and he can use her as a base for their expanding country. She is almost ready to go when she sees Ijin there, but her bodyguard blocks his path and Yengo is waiting for her in the car. Ijin calls her and asks what she wants while Yongho gets out of the car and asks him who ordered him to act like that. Ijin asks her to stop being aware of other people and say what she wants. She replies that she doesn't want to go abroad and wants to stay there, which is enough for him. Yongho asks Yuna to get in the car and orders his guards to get Ijin out of his sight. A guard attacks him, but Ijin defeats him in just one attack. Yuna is in a state of shock and asks him what is he going to do, and Ijin says he is just doing his job, which is protecting her. Yongho says he should do things in moderation so that can be overlooked, while Ijin says he is just doing his duty. He orders his guards to get rid of him and get Yuna into the car, but when they come forward, all the guards of Team 3 arrive there and protect Ijin and Yuna. Yongho asks the team leader what are they doing there, and he replies they are just carrying out the duties of Team 3. They are taking Yuna forcibly, so they are just protecting her, and Yongho asks them to take responsibility, and they say they are prepared for that. Yuna asks him to stop threatening her bodyguards when they are just doing their duties and warns him to not even think about harming them. Yongho says he will not do any harm to them if she goes with him, but Yuna refuses by saying she will not go with him. He is now threatening Yuna when Ijin comes in between, and he gets furious that how dare she tries to go against him when she has no power. In the meantime, Jie comes there and asks him why he is threatening a child who doesn't want to go with him, while he asks her to stay out of the matter. He calls him a pathetic person who is trying to use a child who doesn't know anything and asks him to stop getting a child involved and just fight with her. Yuna receives a call from her grandfather and he asks her about her opinion on all this. She tells him that she wants to live in Korea. He allows her to do whatever she wants and then calls Yongho and asks him to not make decisions regarding Yuna's life from now on. He will take on that role as her grandpa, so he just looks after his life. He puts the call and asks his guards to leave the place. After that, Yuna asks Ijin and Sukju to go to school. On the other hand, Yongho calls the same man again and tells him about the problem they faced and that thing will be slower from now on. He thinks Yuna stabs him in the back when he looked after her when she was left alone by her relatives, and also wonders why Jie suddenly gets involved. His secretary comes in and informs him that the relationship between Jie and Yuna isn't too bad and that Yuna gives her business to Jie. He gets furious as Jie took out what he wanted the whole time and calls that man again and asks him for an assassin for his younger sister. The next day, Yuna asks her friends to go to the PC cafe after school. Meanwhile, Ijin is on duty with Jie. He receives a message from Daeon who asks him about the dinner. Jie guesses from his expressions that the message must be from his family. After that, she informs him that the lieutenant is coming the next day and invites him to dinner. After a while, when she was sitting in the car, a mercenary is watching her from a faraway building and she recognizes Ijin. He is 001. Her code name is 005 and she called the camp leader and asks him about the cause of the death of 001. He reveals that the entire area he was hiding in was blown away by explosives. He asks her why she is asking about him all of a sudden and she replies that she regrets not being able to kill him herself. She thinks the camp leader must know something and he knows that 001 is alive. The next day, he goes for dinner with Jie and the lieutenant and he is shocked to see him there and asks Jie about him and if he is getting used to being there. She tells him that he is very popular there and thinks Kang couldn't talk properly when it was just two of them, but he is like a different person when he is with Ijin. She asks them how did they two meet and Kang reveals that he got help from Ijin 3 years ago when he was just 16. He tells her a story like he is reading a textbook, which means he is hiding something, but she thinks she shouldn't dig into their past. She then receives a call from someone and excuses them, and when she comes back, she notices Ijin's smiling face which he makes with his family and close ones. She feels like she is getting between them. On his way back home, he gets attacked by 005, but he blocks her attack and recognizes her as 001. On the other side, the owner of the Iron Group wonders why the camp has sent a number to assassinate someone as from the camp's perspective. They are their trump cards. Numbered is basically a special experimental unit raised by Iron, an affiliated special organization. They gathered 1,000 people and after serving years of hell-like training and real battles where they risked their lives, the unit was composed of 40 people. After they had completed their training and were fully active, although it was a short period of time, the camp was able to grow and accumulate more wealth than ever before. But due to the betrayal of one person, the camp fell into pieces and was almost annihilated. From then on, the camp followed their orders and sent the remaining numbers or individual missions, and in order to carry out missions, they also employed new mercenaries. Meanwhile, Ijin took 005 to an abandoned building and she is shocked to see him alive and in a better condition than before. Ijin guesses that the camp didn't send him after him and she learns that the camp leader knows that he is alive. Moreover, if he is not her target, then the target must be in Korea. And since she finds him while searching for the target, it means the target must be from SW. She didn't answer his questions and takes out her gun and pulls the trigger on him, but Ijin comes forward and hurriedly takes the gun from her. She then attacks him with his dagger, but he blocks her attacks. He falls to the ground, but she kicks his leg and falls him to the ground and tries to attack him with her knife. Ijin holds her hand and keeps the dagger on her neck but didn't attack her. She gets up and asks him why he didn't kill her and hesitates to kill his colleagues since 26 of them died at his hands. Ijin clarifies to her that he never killed his colleagues and simply subdued those who chased after him upon receiving orders from the camp but didn't kill them. She asks him then who killed all of them who chased him, and Ijin he just sent them all, and after he came to know about their deaths. Moreover, since his memories came back, he didn't kill the innocent citizens as per the camp's orders. She again rushes toward her gun and shoots him, but he hides in a shade. Meanwhile, she runs away. She reaches the place where she is staying and thinks if 001 didn't kill them, then who was the person behind all this? Meanwhile, someone knocked at her door. The corpses are hiding behind the door. They rush inside by breaking the door, but there is no one inside. She hides and shoots all of them one by one and asks them about the person who sent them and learns that they are not from the SW, and there is no way the country's security team would use guns openly like that, or maybe 001 sent them to kill her. After that, she comes outside but again gets attacked by someone and runs to save her life. They are many in number and she is shocked when they caught onto her. Suddenly, Ijin comes up there and attacks all of them. She is shocked that he came up all the way to save her. He takes her to some abandoned place and asks her about the people who were after her, but she questions him and asks why he saved her. She tells him about the death of 006 and 032 and that they died at a similar time, and it might be possible that they died from those people who were trying to kill her. Ijin doesn't say a word, which is why she gets angry at him and says she is talking about the death of his friend. It seems like he doesn't care about that, or maybe he is the one who killed them. Ijin reveals that they didn't die and she is worried that if they both get caught, then what will they do? He assures her that they will get caught until they hide well. She then tells him about her target and that she has come there to kill GA, but now as her location is disclosed to the people, he doesn't know, so he can't continue her mission. She called the camp leader and tells him about the attack, and the only person who knew his route was him as he gave him the mission. She states that she is going to give up the mission and warns him to don't even think about looking for her for a while. Ijin goes to Grandpa and tells him that the enemies are after GA, and the person who was after her was his past colleague, and she didn't come up for kidnapping and threatening, but to kill her. The lieutenant calls him and asks him about the assassin who was after GA, and that she was his old comrade. Ijin confirms his doubt and says he couldn't figure out the person who sent them and that they will not mobilize another assassin for the same target, but it will be difficult to figure out who was behind it. The lieutenant asks him to not hesitate to let him know if he needs help. Meanwhile, Daeun comes there and asks him why he is standing there. She asks him if he is worried because of Yuna or because of his game rank, while 005 is watching him from aside and is shocked to see his smiling face as she is watching for the first time that he can smile. Back in the past, when Ijin was getting training in the past, the camp leader tries to eliminate one of them, but Ijin got in between to save him. The camp leader challenges him that if he fights him and wins, he will let him live. They both start fighting, and on that day, Ijin didn't just win against him, but also, he lost his eye too. The next morning, Ijin is jogging when he sees 005 there. She reveals that she blamed the camp leader for the ambush and cut off contact with the camp for now, since she was ambushed, until they can figure out the situation. She is sure that they will not target GA again. She asks him to not to misunderstand her as she came there, but she still can't stand her, and also tell him that when he betrayed and left them, they all got separated as some failed and died. There are not many of them left, but he just forgot them all and is having a good time with his girlfriend. It doesn't suit him to be chatting with a cute girl. Ijin clarifies to her that she was her sister. Meanwhile, Daeun and Grandpa reach there and calls him. Ijin takes her to his home and they serve him a good meal. This is the first time in her whole life that she is eating with the family. She thinks she came here to kill him and now sitting with him and having breakfast. Grandpa asks him why is she not eating or if she doesn't like the food, and asks him if she is from Ijin's past acquaintances, and she is unaware of the name Ijin. He clarifies that it is his name and tells Grandpa that she is someone he knows when he had lost his memories, so she doesn't know his name. When he woke up after losing his memory, she was the one who helped him and they spent a lot of time together. Back then, she was like family to him. Meanwhile, she is in a state of shock after hearing such expressive words from Ijin. While leaving, Grandpa thanks him for being with Ijin and says if Ijin thinks of her as family, then she is also family to them. When coming down the stairs, she is still in a state of shock, and then suddenly, she kicks Ijin on his back and falls him to the ground. She asks him why he brought her to the place where his family lives, while Ijin says it was his grandfather who asked her to come, not him. She says she is still his enemy and he took his enemy to the place where his family lives, which seems like he has forgotten basics because of regaining his memories. Ijin replies he never thought of her as his enemy, which is why he introduces her to his family. She tells him her real name, which is Maya. He then gives her the phone by saying 032 and 006 will call this phone. Suddenly, she again punches him by saying she still can't forgive him for betraying them without a word and leaves him. The chief and Hyung-suk are watching them and they are shocked that Ijin got punched by a girl and falls. They think they should pretend that they didn't see anything as he must be embarrassed. On the other hand, Yongho's secretary informs him about somewhere where they can make a request to kill anyone. He is planning to dispose of GA and will take over SW. Kang comes to meet Ijin before he heads back to his squadron and asks him about 005. Ijin tells him that she went back and assures him that she will not go after GA again. He asks Ijin if he remembers why he came back, and if he remembers then he should live like someone his age. The next morning, Jie informs him about the departure of Kang and he tells her that he met him while leaving. She asks him why he didn't go to school and he replies he didn't want to go. Jie says he actually sounds his age when he says that. On the other side, 006 receives Jie's picture from someone and asks 032 to contact Ijin. He calls him and says he has some present for him, but there is no Ijin on the other side and he recognizes her voice as she is 005. He asks her why she has that phone or she killed 001, but she asks him to give the phone to 006. He holds the phone and asks her if she met with 001 and requests her to meet up with him again as he has something to tell him. The next day at school, Daeon informs them that Ijin went overseas to meet some people he knew in the past. Ijin lands there where 006 and 032 are waiting for him. They take him to their home and 006 tells him that 032 is looking into SW and dug around a bit. They heard that someone from SW is looking for an assassin, and when he faked his identity to take the offer, he received Jia's picture. Ijin asks him about the client and he shows him the picture of Yongho's secretary, but the real client is Yongho. The next day, Yongho's secretary informs him that Ijin has come to meet him and wonders why he comes there. Or maybe he wants to give him information about Jie. Meanwhile, Ijin comes in, and he asks him what brings him there, but he suddenly received a call from his grandfather who says he has crossed the lines which he shouldn't have and asks him why he ordered someone to kill Jie. He is shocked at how he knew about this. He asks him to quit his all operations and come to him, but he refuses by saying SW belongs to him and if he tries to take it from him by force, he will do everything in his power to resist and hangs up the call. He then calls Ijin and asks him to bring Yongho to him as he will prepare the mode of transport. Yongho now realizes that Ijin has come there to bring him and he starts to laugh at him by saying Grandpa has sent a kid to bring him. He then orders his secretary to take him away from his site and she tries to contact security, but no one is responding as they are all taken down by 005 and 032 is controlling the security cameras. His secretary comes up and pulls a gun at him and says there was not any security issue until he came in, which means he has allies who are helping him. She shoots him, but 005 arrives and attacks her while his gun falls onto the ground and then beats her well. In the meantime, Yongho picks up the gun and says he will not go to Korea at any cost. He threatens him by saying he will be going all the way if this happens again, so they do not even think about taking him back. Ijin steps forward, and he asks him to stop, otherwise he will kill him, but he doesn't stop and punches him by holding his hand. 006 and 032 also reach there and reveal that they have erased all traces of them being there from the building. 006 feels strange as they are working together after a long time, while Ijin says he is heading back. On the other side, Jie's father is apologizing to his father for Yongho's mistake and asks him to punish him as he pleases. He bows before him and asks him for forgiveness, but in his heart, he is just pretending. When Ijin gets back home, Daeon and Grandpa welcome him warmly. The next day, Jie's father asks her to break her engagement with Kang, and when she asks him the reason, he exclaims that they do not need that anymore as they did this engagement to improve their relations with the military, but there is no need for this anymore. She then asks him about Yongho and he just says that she crossed the line so they punished him. After he leaves, Jie is sad about thinking of Kang as she has to break the engagement now. She then asks the team leader to locate the location of Yongho without informing anyone. She wonders why is she feeling uncomfortable after hearing about the engagement, and then asks Ijin about Kang's personality, and he replies that Kang is really a good person and also the person whom he trusts the most. She then orders them to cancel today's plans and asks them to go to the place where Kang is. He is shocked to see her there and asks her the reason for their arrival. Jie says she just come there to visit him, while Kang thinks there must be something wrong with her as she is acting strangely. However, he assures her that no matter what the situation is, he will be on her side. Even if her family turns their back on her, he will be by her side always. After a pause, she requests him to break their engagement. He agrees without saying anything, while Jie asks him if he will not ask the reason, but he replies that she is saying that there must be a reason. Moreover, he will say at home that he was the one who brought up the annulment first. She then calls her father and informs him about her meeting with Kang and that she had told him to break off their engagement, but he gets angry and asks her why she made the decision so hurriedly as he wanted them to take the responsibility for the annulment. She then orders the team leader to send the file on Secretary Choi to Ijin and turns toward him to give him instructions. On the other hand, her father orders Secretary Choi to make preparations and proceed quickly. Meanwhile, Kang is being sad about his breakup and drinking alcohol, and after a while, a girl comes there and asks him to share a drink with her. When Kang is watching from the other side, she mixes something in his drink and gets away immediately. He is about to drink it when Ijin arrives and asks him to stop further drinking. Kang agrees because he doesn't want to look like that in front of him, and Ijin takes him to the car. Meanwhile, they all reach there and he calls Jie after defeating them all and informs her that they wanted to spike Kang's drink and plan to make him a criminal. She advises him to take care of Kang. Jie had expectations that her father will do something, but never expected that he will go so far that they will try to put drugs in his alcohol and make him out to be a criminal. Meanwhile, she receives a call from Kang and wonders why he is calling her at this hour. She picks up the call and Kang keeps up the phone by saying he loved her, and she is in a state of shock. Her father gets informed that they have failed the mission because someone looked like Kang's associate stepped in and caused complications, and ensures him that they will not fail next time. He then shouts at his men to do the task again, and this time he will not bear any failure. After a while, Jie goes to her father and asks him when he is going back, and he replies he has to do some things there. Jie asks him to go back as soon as possible and stop what he is doing, as this will harm the company. He doesn't seem to agree with her and tells her that she needs some experience. Moreover, he is the vice president of SW, so why he has to listen to her orders. Meanwhile, she receives a call from Ijin and he informs her that he has collected the photos for evidence against her father. She then tells her father that Secretary Choi got a bit hurt and he should go visit him in the hospital. The next day, Kang wakes up but he doesn't remember anything about yesterday. Meanwhile, Jie comes there and asks him to go out with her for breakfast as she is waiting for him the whole night. On the other hand, Ijin and Daeon are going to school and she asks him if he is alright as his eyes are looking red. After that, while sitting in the class, his friends ask him to hit up the street food, but he is thinking about something else and doesn't respond to them. Yuna comes to him and inquiries about his health and asks him what happens as his face is burning up. A little while later, they bring a lot of things for him and ask him to eat. After that, he looks tired during the training and the team leader asks him to go home as he is looking in a bad condition, but he says that he is fine. Jie also asks him to go back home early, but he again says the same thing. She takes him to the doctor, who reveals that he has 104 degrees of fever and gives him some medicines. After that, she drops him at home and advises him to take a rest. When he enters the home, Daeon and Grandpa also seem conscious about his health. He tells them that he visited the hospital and the doctor asked him to take medicine and got some rest. Grandpa brought a lot of fruits for him and asks him to eat them all. He goes to his room and doesn't get outside for a long time. When Daeon goes to check on him, he was falling asleep. The next day, the chief calls him to the convenience store to inquiries about his health. He advises him to not push himself too much as he is still a child. On the other hand, Kisu and Heejin's father asks them to go to America as their probation period is over. Heejin thinks this all happened to them just because of Daeon and her older brother. Daeon asks Ijin if he wants something for dinner as she is going to the supermarket. After that, he receives a call from an unknown number and there is Heejin's father on the other side. He tells him that he sent his children abroad, so according to the deal, he should delete all the evidence. But Ijin says his daughter again tried to attack Daeon again and broke the deal. Mr. Kim threatens him by saying he had caused a lot of problems for him, but instead he is living a peaceful life now. He has decided to teach him a lesson. At night, the chief faces Grandpa and asks him to let them know if he needs anything. He will make it for them. Meanwhile, two bike riders come there and they are driving at a high speed. They are coming with the intention to hit Grandpa, but Chief gets in between them and hits them. Grandpa is unaware of what is happening behind him. He asks both of them why were they behind Grandpa. Meanwhile, Hyung-suk calls him and informs him that Mr. Kim is not behind them. Instead, he is behind Ijin, which means those gangsters were also sent by him. He hurriedly calls Ijin and asks him if something happened to him when suddenly, he notices a lot of gangsters behind him, and he replies to the chief that something is going to happen to him right now. He then orders Hyung-suk to put 3 boys on Grandpa and Daeon and calls Mr. Kim and asks him what he is doing right now, while he replies he is just finishing the things that he can. The chief asks him to stop taking his anger on a child, and if he wants to do it, then do it properly. He then asks Hyung-suk to gather as many guys as he can, while he says he will not be safe if they attack Mr. Kim. The chief states he is indebted to a boy who is much younger than him, so he should pay him back since he is an adult. On the other side, Ijin beats up all the gangsters and goes home. When he reaches there, he sees a car outside his home and there are many boys in it. He grabs one of them out of the car and they all shout at once that they have been sent by the chief. He asks them the reason why they are there and they reply they just received orders from the chief to stay around his grandfather and sister. He then calls Sukju and asks him to find the location of Mr. Kim. The chief gathers his men and set out to Mr. Kim and asks Ijin to stay at home. Moreover, he tells him that he had told his men to protect him and his family because he had friction with someone and fears that they might get caught in it. Meanwhile, Ijin is on the way and following them. Hyun-suk asks him why he is lying to Ijin as they are going to fight for him, while the chief replies he wants to repay back his debt without letting him know. A man informs Mr. Kim about the chief has gathered up his men and is on his way, and assures him that they will get rid of him. This place will become the chief's grave. Meanwhile, he receives a call from the guys he had sent to beat Ijin, and they reveal that they have failed to bring him and his family. He assures him that after taking care of the chief, he will personally go and take care of him. When Ijin reaches there were a lot of men outside Mr. Kim's house. He hurriedly climbs up the wall and entered his house while there are many of them inside. He starts to beat them, and in the meantime, other guys also come there to attack him. Mr. Kim hears the noise and thinks the chief has arrived with his men. His man advises him to stay there until they have tidied things up. After some time, a man falls into the room by breaking the door and Ijin enters after him. Mr. Kim recognizes him as he is Ijin. Ijin comes forward and punches the fat man, but it doesn't have any effect on him. He again attacks him, but this time, he punches his face and then breaks his arm. Mr. Kim is in a state of shock that Gu Kwang-suk, the one who controlled this district for over 10 years, is powerless against a high schooler. He calls his men to come and grab him, but Ijin took all of them down. They all seem helpless against a single man. Meanwhile, Mrs. Kim comes there and asks all of them to move aside. But when they go inside, they are shocked to see that one man is fighting and defeating all of their men. The chief also reaches there with his men and asks all of them to get down, while Mrs. Kim asks him to stop as he should not do this to people he used to work for. In the meantime, the fat man comes to attack the chief but gets stopped by a man. The chief holds the stick and starts to beat him violently. Everyone is shocked to see his brutality. Ijin comes forward and asks him about what is he doing, but he asks him to stay out of this from now on. He also assures him that Mr. Kim will never be able to mess up with him and his family. He then moves toward Mr. Kim, who seems very scared, and asks him to leave him, and he will give him the money which will help him in expanding his business. The chief gets up and attacks him with his full might, but the chief's secretary comes there and asks him to stop. The chief and Mr. Kim both wonder why someone from the SW here is. He asks Ijin to go as they will take care of it from now on, and the president has promised that something like this will never happen again. The chief also asks him to hurry up and go home, and Ijin leaves from there. After that, the chief calls him and reveals that they have sent all the evidence against Mr. and Mrs. Kim to the prosecutor's office, and they will take care of them. Moreover, he has cleaned up all the mess he created there, and he doesn't need to worry about that. When he hands up the call, he sees Grandpa outside the home looking for him. He asks him why he gets home so late. Daeun also asks him why he came home late, as they both were worried about him. Yuna goes to Jia's room to meet her, and she is shocked that Yuna just came there to meet her. She then asks her to go to her room as she wants to go to the conference room. But Yuna asks her to go if she wants to, and she will stay there for a bit more. When Jie told her that Ijin is also going with her, she immediately gets up and leaves her room. She then asks Ijin to go with him, and this is her first time riding a bus. On the other hand, 005 reaches the camp while 002 and 008 were also present there. She asks him why he is there, and he replies he is there because of 001. She pretends like she doesn't that he is alive, and 004 states he even fought against him. She then asks the camp leader as he was the one who told them about his death, and he still says the same. 004 gets angry as they all are making him a liar. The camp leader assures them that 001 has been dead, while 005 wonders why he is hiding the truth. After a while, Randolph comes to meet all the numbers. The camp leader asks him to leave, but he puts a gun on 002 and asks all the numbers to do not to come to the commo again, as they are all useless for camp now. 002 gets up and kills him in just a moment. Meanwhile, 005 and 004 kill all of his men, and the camp leader orders his man to kill his other companions. On the other side, Ijin receives a call from 006 and informs him that 002 knows he is alive. 032 is so distressed because he thinks Ijin got exposed because of him, and 006 says nothing will change if he is distressed. The next day, during training, Ijin got punched by a guard, and everyone, including the guard, is in a state of shock as this is the first time he got punched. The team leader inquired about his health, and it looks like he is thinking about something else during today's training. He orders him to go home early as there is no point in training like this. 006 calls 005 and asks him about the location of 002, and 004 as he wants to repay his debt to Ijin. He is planning to go and kill them by himself. Moreover, Ijin just started to live like a human, and he can't let him get disturbed. 005 reveals that there are a few places where she assumed they might be, but it's too dangerous for him to go against them by himself. 006 states he knows about that, and this is the reason he is going to attack them first, as they know he is dead. After that, she regrets that she shouldn't tell him about them as it is too dangerous for him. She advised him to not reveal himself, but he didn't want to let them ruin Ijin's new life. Suddenly, she notices some noise outside her room, and when she checks, it is 002 on the other side. She wonders why he came to her and takes him inside. She asks him what he wants, while 002 says he heard a story and wanted to tell her too. He informs her about 006 and that he is still alive, first 001 and then 006. On the other hand, when 006 went to attack them, he got trapped as they were already waiting for him there. He hides in a shade, but 084 comes from behind and attacks him. He didn't know that he will find 008 there and is shocked that they are both together. At the same time, Ijin sees a dream in which he gets bullied by 002. He had a great fight with him, but he was way stronger than him. He gets up by being scared, and it is early morning. He comes outside the room while Grandpa is getting ready for work. He asks him if he can go to the bus station with him. While on the way, Grandpa asks him what he is thinking about. Moreover, he says he seems like he has a lot on his mind. While on the other side, Meyer asks 002 what 006 being alive have to do with him, and he reveals that when they went to the camp leader, they received a report that 006 had found their location. Maya now asks what is the point in telling her all this, while he says he just wanted to tell her this because she took special care of them. Maya states he was the one who took special care of 001 and killed the people who initially claimed that he betrayed them. He now asks her directly if she already knew that 00 was alive and asks about his location. She takes out her gun, but he attacks her and pushes her. They both start fighting, and they both fight at almost the same level. 002 appreciates her skills and asks her to stop for today, but someone on his command takes aim at her, and he asks her to reveal the location of 001. At the same time, 006 is fighting with 008. They both want to kill him, but it is 002's order to keep him alive. He calls 005 the loyal dog that listens to whatever 002 says, which makes him furious. furious and he rushes toward him and attacks him with the dagger. Meanwhile, 032 wonders why 006 hasn't contacted him yet. After a while, he sees through the security camera that Ijin is outside his house. On being inquired, he reveals that he couldn't get in contact with them and asks him about 006, while 032 states he is also unable to contact him. In the meantime, he receives a call from Maya and she informs him that 006 got caught by 002. They take him to 002 and 006 and ask him why he has gathered all of them there, or if they are having a numbered reunion. They should have invited him too. 004 slaps him and asks him to shut up. 002 again asks him about the location of 001, but he acts like he doesn't know about him and asks him why he is bringing up a dead person. He gets up and asks 005 to leave him as if 001 is really alive. Then he will definitely come for 006. On the other hand, Ijin reaches their location with 032, and Maya asks him to stop as 002 is waiting for him by using 006 as bait. 032 also asks him to go back as it is not too late. Ijin gets up and moves toward their location. He opens the door where they are all staying. After watching him by face, they now really confirm that he is alive. He claims that he came there for 006 and says if they had business with him, they could have just settled it with him directly. 002 comes forward and challenges him to a duel and they both start fighting. They are all shocked that his skills have improved before, but the opponent is still better than him. 00 states they had a silent rule to not betray each other, but he broke it and betrayed them all and again attacks him. But this time Ijin becomes dominant on him and falls to the ground. He admits that his skills have gotten better than before and takes out his dagger. He attacks him with the dagger, but Ijin's knife skills also seem better than his. One of them recognizes him as Mercenary Jin, and 00 asks him why he did mercenary work after betraying them. Ijin reveals his memories had started to come back. Meanwhile, Maya and 032 rush there and inform them that they have enemies as the armed soldiers have surrounded that place, and they are more than 50 in number. They hurriedly take out their guns while 032 untied 006. The soldiers have been sent by the camp leader and he gave them instructions to kill them all. His real plan was to gather all of them in one place and then kill them all. Ijin is now performing the duty of the leader and giving the command. They all surround the soldiers and Ijin commands them to attack. They all shot them at once and killed many of them. After a while, Ijin and 002 come forward and start to shoot them from the front. 004 informs them about all the enemies have cleared. 002 says this is not the end and he will make him pay for betraying them. 006 says goodbye by saying they hope to not see each other again, and they leave all of them there. On the other side, the camp leader gets informed that they again failed the mission. 006 feels so embarrassed that he again becomes indebted to him, while Ijin says he just did what he needed to. But the thing which matters is that they all survived. The next day in the class, Yuna asks Ijin to come with them to the PC cafe, but he refuses by saying he has to go to his grandpa's job with Daeon. When they were going, Ijin asked about her plans after graduation and she replies she wants to work as soon as she graduates. Any job that has a high salary, as she wants grandpa to rest. Moreover, when she talked to grandpa about this, he got angry and said he couldn't forgive her if she is just working because of him. Ijin states as he is with them so she can think about what she wants to do slowly. On his way back home, grandpa is being sad, thinking that the children will leave him soon as he can't keep them under his wings. When he enters the home, Ijin was waiting for him. He asks him how he wants to live his life and about his dreams. Ijin replies his dream had come true as it was to continue living like how he is now. Moreover, his dream is to live with his family like he is now. On the other hand, 002 and 004 go to the camp leader, but he ran away before them. The Iron God informed that numbers have destroyed the camp and only one camp leader was able to escape. According to their investigation, he tried to kill them but it backfired. He asks his man to send that information to everyone with a grudge against the camp leader. Moreover, they will not touch him until this is over. On the other hand, the camp leader is running to save his life and he considers 001 to be responsible for all this. In the meantime, Ijin receives a message from Yuna and she asks him to meet her at the convenience store. When he reaches there, Sukju and Yuna are waiting for him. He asks her why she called him and she replies that she just wanted to talk to him. They tell him that Yunchin has decided that he will never play games again and focus on his studies. She then asks him if he works for SW Security and he replies he has not decided yet. The team leader comes forward and says he should definitely do it as the whole security is thinking that. On the other hand, 006 tells Meyer about the destruction of the camp and that the camp leader has run away. But he is not the type to just die easily. The next day on the duty, Ijin receives messages and Jie asks him to check. The message is from Daeon and she asks him to bring apples from the store. He smiles after reading it. Jie asks him if he has someone in his mind and he says he doesn't have anyone. Moreover, he doesn't know if he has the right to like anyone and Jie is unable to understand what he is talking about. After that, he bought some apples with Daeon from the grocery store and went home while chatting. Meanwhile, he notices someone there and he is 002. He asks Daeon to head toward 22 the home quickly. She gets worried but then leaves after seeing his expression. They both are facing each other and 002 says it seems like Ijin is living a fun life as he roams with her lover on the road. Ijin doesn't clear his misunderstanding and asks him why he came here. In the meantime, the chief appears there and asks him what is he doing there and why he is not crossing the road. He doesn't reply to him and continues to gaze at 002. The chief wonders as he never sees him like this before and the way he is looking and the boy facing him have similar looks in his eyes. Ijin then asks 002 to change their location. He says he is living a good life with that girl, and the man back there too while forgetting his past. Ijin asks him how he found him and he reveals he recognizes from his language that he is living in Korea, so he searches for him there. He has come there to get rid of the traitor with his own hands. He attacks him with his dagger but Ijin doesn't respond to his attack and gets injured. He stops and asks him why he is not fighting as if he just wanted to get rid of him. He would have targeted the people around him. If he keeps going like this, he will kill everyone around him and will start with that girl. Ijin gets furious upon hearing this and attacks him with his full might. This time 002 is unable to handle him and falls to the ground. He again gets up and says that he shouldn't have killed the numbers who went after him and takes out his gun, while Ijin asks him to kill him but leaves the people around him alone. Moreover, the girl he saw is part of his family whom he met after 10 years like him. Suddenly, the chief calls him from behind and grabs him but 002 pushes him and falls him to the ground and runs away. The chief asks him who is he and why he was fighting with him and he replies he was his colleague. The chief is shocked and thinks about what kind of colleague shoots and cuts each other. The chief is confused and thinking how a boy holding a gun can be his colleague as he is just a high schooler who loves his family. He comes home late while Daeun is still waiting for him and is shocked to see the blood on his clothes. He says he had a fight with his friend and comes to his room. On the other side, 002 is thinking about him and his words when he called all the numbers of his family. The next day, Sukju informs him about Ijin who has invited all of them to the hideout. After a while, they reach the location told to them by Ijin. When they went inside, Yuna was already present there and Ijin was playing games. He reveals that he has bought the best computers in the market, so they can use them. There is no need to go to an internet cafe anymore. Moreover, they can restock the drinks and snacks too. He has also made an exclusive seat for Yunchin as he is a pro gamer.